We definitely want a rocket to reach Uranus. That's it's a stretch goal to reach Uranus, but definitely something we think we should aim for.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come. You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do and homelessness and all that.
And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I'm kind of retarded.
For all the enjoyment I got watching the immediate post-election meltdowns of people, what I really get a kick out of is watching these people with clout who think they're hot shit meltdown, and then turn on each other. Take Alan Lichtman, for example.
My next guest, known as the Nostradamus of U.S. elections for correctly predicting 9 of the last 10 presidential races, using his own 13 keys to the White House, criteria a candidate must win in order to achieve victory. Well, he now says that he's ready to call the race. American University history professor Alan Lichtman.
Wait for it.
Democrats will hold on to the White House, and Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States.
Thus, my prediction is Kamala Harris will be a precedent-breaking president of the United States, the first woman president in U.S. history.
Are you sure?
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him before
and I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with
right.
your personal
yeah,
attacks.
come find out again.
Make whatever point you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
you
anything.
You attacked me
You're
personally.
so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just finish a goddamn thought?
Don't call me stupid. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say, it's great to see you Democrats all getting along so well.
Who taught you manners?
It's lovely to see a post-election harmony as you all come together again.
We're just one right now. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second? And let someone who knows what they're doing.
You're so right, Pierce.
Okay?
You're so right. We're so unified right now. You want, so I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that.
In the quiet words of the Virgin Mary, come again.
For blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't
blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser?
I said the same exact thing. Fucking blasphemy. Talk about a very poor choice of words. All he really had to do was say, yeah, I got this one wrong, you know. It happens. Oh, these are turning into such weird times, aren't they? I find myself actually agreeing with and laughing with Chunk Yogurt. I mean, you gotta be a real shitbag for that to happen. But oh, I've been a professor for 51 years and I've written books. So it can't be me that's wrong, the world is wrong. It was also kind of fun watching MSNBC discuss their irrelevance on a panel. It's funny watching them try to figure it out.
1 in 5 adults regularly get their news from influencers on social media. The number is even higher among younger Americans, with almost 40% under the age of 30 getting their news from those sources. According to the Pew Research Center, the social media site X remains the most widely accessed platform, followed by Instagram and YouTube.
I mean, that comes obviously for political news. And Mike, that's the challenge. You grew up in a newsroom like Gene grew up in a newsroom. I mean, that's a lot of challenge. That's a challenge for a lot of mainstream media sources is, do they make themselves relevant again to hear 20% of adults who actually get influencers on social media?
I don't know
maybe somebody who makes baskets, and while they're making baskets, they look up and say, vote for candidate X.
I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again, because we can't compete with 20-second snippets on an iPhone, walking up the street,
morsels,
getting your entire news digest of the day in less than a minute on your phone as you're walking under the crowd with coffee in one hand and your phone in the other. I don't know how we catch up to that.
Yeah, so Gene Robinson, do you agree with Mike? Because I find this hard to believe. That younger voters would be more interested in getting an entertaining 20-second news snippet than watching a cable news show for 4 hours from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This seems like an easy choice to us here.
What is wrong with these people? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, if I knew the answer, I would implement it immediately, right? And reverse this, but we have to compete. I mean, the answer is we don't know how to compete with these social media basket-making influencers or whatever, but we have to, and so we've got to figure out ways to do it, and maybe we make our own 20-second snippets, and we meet viewers where they are. We meet news consumers where they are, because they're not here, and that's the problem.
Well, no fucking shit.
And the best they can come up with is, oh, well, kids only have attention spans for 20-second videos. And sure, that may play some small part in it, but they completely overlook the fact that you went so hard with the one-sided, obviously propagandistic bullshit. In retrospect, maybe throwing any semblance of subtlety out the window wasn't a very good tactic. And it seems like out of all these big corporate news networks, MSNBC is in the most trouble. They're talking about it might get sold off, and people are trying to talk Elon Musk into buying it. And holy shit, did this tweet crack me up. I know he was probably joking, but Joe Rogan was talking about, hey, if you buy MSNBC, give me Rachel Maddow's job and I'll wear the same outfit and glasses and tell the same lies. I mean, I know it's probably never gonna happen, but holy shit. Amazing isn't even a strong enough word to describe how fucking legendary that would be. And then there was another meltdown clip that was making the rounds last week of Jasmine Crockett, who apparently wants to take AOC's crown for the biggest dipshit in Congress. Let's hear what she has to say about the concept of government being weaponized against people.
It's because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your...
I know that was a rhetorical question, but the answer is the Irish. Back in the late 17th century, hundreds of thousands of them were rounded up and shipped off to the Caribbean to work in plantations growing sugarcane.
You need to shut the fuck up.
That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
You gotta love the irony of somebody going, yeah, I know I'm an elected representative in Congress, but I'm really the oppressed one here. But it's not all that surprising, because you got people like the ADL who have spent years convincing stupid people that racism is something that white people do, trying to redefine it as marginalization and oppression of people of color based on a socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. So riddle me this. If you've got a black person and a Chinese person that get into it on the New York City subway and they both start hurling racial slurs at one another, which one is being racist? Neither? How the fuck does that work? And then there was this clip I came across that probably would have pissed me off if it hadn't been so fucking comical.
You cannot be goth or punk and conservative. Granted, you can be alternative and conservative, but then you're only alternative within your own ranks. You're just cosplaying. Being a goth and being a punk is not about the clothes. It is about your ideologies and who you are as a person here and here. And if here and here are blinded and blocked by Zionism, by nationalism, by conservatism, then you're just that, blind. And some goth conservatives or punk conservatives, what the fuck is even that, will come and say, well, I listen to the music though. Do you? Because this is how we have people listening to Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down and then voting for Trump. And if you're sitting there wearing all black, listening to your Bauhaus going, wait, but I voted for Trump and I'm goth. No. Congratulations on being the very last true poser. With as watered down as the scenes have become with the pervasiveness of infiltrators here on the internet, how does it feel to be, again, the last true poser?
Right.
Oh no, guys, hipster Jesus thinks I'm a poser. How will I ever recover? And I just came across this clip on Twitter. I have no idea who these people are. I tried to use my fancy new phone to do a search and figure it out, but to no avail. Because I would like to tag them and direct this to them personally, but I do feel the need to address this concept that it's antithetical to the values of punk rock to like somebody like Trump. But first I gotta get the insults out of the way.
Can I get... Jesus, what happened to your face?
Your face looks like a golden retriever's asshole. And your frumpy little emo girlfriend there, who I'm not sure if she can even speak because all she does is nod slightly in agreement and flip the finger. How so very edgy. She looks like if Maggie Gyllenhaal had had a baby, but then left it at a firehouse because she drank the entire pregnancy, that this would be the result.
Now that's fucked up. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Not sorry.
Anyways, did you notice at the beginning where they said it's impossible to be a punk or goth and be a conservative, and then at the end he conflates that with voting for Trump, as though the only ones that would vote for Trump would be somebody who identifies as conservative. And when I think back to 2016, one of the things that they were pushing was that Trump's not really a conservative, he's not even really a Christian. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, you're not making the convincing argument that you think you are. And I can understand the confusion of people with low IQs and a very basic understanding of the spirit of punk rock. Because it's true that at its inception and for quite some time after, the politics of most punks were more left-leaning or considered left-leaning, but really they were more libertarian. The anti-conformity, anti-censorship, fighting for the right to be able to say things even if it offends some people's delicate sensibilities was something that existed in the left. And it was the right that was trying to censor people. But somewhere along the line that all got flipped on its head and it became the left that started saying, oh, what you're saying is hurting some people's feelings, so you need to be silenced.
That's why these fucking pussies.
And I remember coming across this article not too long after Trump got into office, and while it has some flaws in it, it's a pretty decent article. But it made me think back to my early days of getting into punk rock when I was 12 years old. And it was the mid-90s, and being a punk back then meant that people would still try to pick a fight with you just for the way you were dressed or the fact that you have a mohawk. I literally got punched before just because I had a fucking mohawk. And we never gave a shit. We never sat there crying about it. Actually, we fucking liked it because it kept life exciting. It added a certain spice. And now, all these years later, I can get the same reaction by walking around and just wearing a MAGA hat. So that just makes me want to wear one even more. Makes me kind of nostalgic for the old days. And while I was born in '82, so I'm not exactly a OG punk rocker, compared to a lot of these silly-ass Gen Z cunts, sure makes me feel like I am. But let's take the case of an actual legit OG punk, Johnny Rotten. Now he goes by John Lydon, but his evolution has confused a lot of people and made them think that he sold out in some kind of way. After all, this was somebody who went from singing songs like Anarchy in the UK to being a Trump supporter. And he wasn't a Trump supporter in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, well, there's a man there who's basically a real estate agent thinking he could buy the presidency.
Wait a minute, who are you talking about? Donald Trump?
Must I mention him? And then there's Hillary, and then there's all this nonsense going on about like the email stuff. And I don't know if that's half stirmongering or she really is that clumsy.
But what drove him to be a MAGA supporter and also a Brexit supporter was seeing the way that the left had lost their goddamn minds. Specifically things like the politically correct wokeness and the completely unchecked migration, not just in the US, but in the UK as well.
This woke agenda and all of this nonsense, I can't be tolerating that. I'd rather vote Conservative because at least I can rely on their hypocrisy, but I don't want to vote for lunacy.
And perhaps he saw what I saw in Trump, not a conservative so much as a populist. In fact, an insurgent, somebody that came from completely outside the political system, and someone who wasn't beholden to or taking money from anybody within that political system, and that was hated and lied about from the establishment of both sides of that political system.
Working class people, we're bored with your intellectual left-wing ideas. We can't take much more of you. You talk twaddle. Everything you do, you just miss the point of who the general population are. Hillary Clinton, who I mistakenly thought was a nice person a few years ago, when she called Trump supporters a basket full of deplorables.
Yeah.
So,
what about his rudeness? What about his obnoxiousness?
Nothing for these people. Nothing. And this is why they now support him so loyally, because he's the only hope.
Oh, what about his rudeness? What about his obnoxiousness? Lady, do you realize who you're fucking talking to? But anyways, I could wax philosophical about punk rock ethos all day long, but the point I'm trying to get at is, if I had to boil down what the spirit entails, it would basically be this. We think how we want to think, we like what we want to like, and we don't give a fuck what you have to say about it. Sláinte.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Come on.
with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! You stupid fuck! Look at you now! Look at you now!